This conference will now be recorded.
Great. All right, everyone. Well, welcome. First of all, thank all of you for joining, those who are on already and those who are going to come to the NWBA webpage later and click on this recording. This is our latest installment of the NWBA webinar series presented by ABC Medical. Before we dive into the presentation, I want to cover a few additional points for everyone, some housekeeping items. Everyone's asked to keep your microphone on mute during the presentation to reduce any background noise. If you have any questions, there's a chat box found within the GoToMeeting. It's in the top right of your screen. We'll be monitoring the chat box for questions throughout the presentation, and we'll have time reserved 15 minutes at the end for Q&A that we don't get to throughout. And if you cannot stay for the entire presentation, as I mentioned a few moments ago, we are going to be posting it on the NWBA website. And really important to say that we do appreciate ABC Medical's support of helping us bring valuable content to our current and future members. Next slide. The topics we're going to cover tonight, so for those who aren't aware of the NWBA, we're going to give a high-level overview of the organization. We're going to talk about military programming collaboration opportunities. We're going to have Hannah and Lee dive into the military division pilot program and the background of how we got to where we are and some of the key components of it. Expectations that you should have of us and that we have of you, as well as question and answer opportunities. So we expect this agenda to take about 45 minutes. And again, we'll do our best to stay on schedule while preserving about 15 minutes of time there at the end. And before we go to the next slide, you could just see, the power of some of the opportunities that military programming has had in other formats. And you could see an Army team here competing in this image here on this screen. And I think, an image is worth 1,000 words. And it's just great to see that what we're looking to do ultimately is provide more programming exactly like this, but within the NWBA. Okay, next slide, Tina. You can probably flip to. We're going to dive into the NWBA overview. One more. Okay, so the NWBA is the largest single sport disabled sport organization in the US. Not only are we the largest, we're one of the oldest organizations focused on disability sport. So the NWBA is 72 years young, and our roots, which we'll cover here in a while, are really founded in the military. So we're really excited to be here talking about it. But you can get a sense of the scale of the NWBA. We're found within 43 states across various divisions of play: junior division, collegiate division, women's division, adult division, and nearly 2,400 athletes and 226 teams. We put pre-COVID numbers here because it really felt like the COVID numbers would do a disservice to our size and reach. So these are pre-COVID numbers that you see there, and we're slowly but surely clawing our way back to the pre-COVID numbers. Next slide. In addition to the domestic league, which is a bit of what I covered a moment ago, the NWBA also has the great honor of putting together USA wheelchair basketball teams. So these are national teams that compete in international competitions. And then every 4 years, we put together our teams that participate in the Paralympic Games. And you can see a really strong history of success for those national team programs. In terms of medal count, the NWBA is the most successful country in the world in international competition. We won a double gold in 2016, and we have our U.S. men's program that's won medals in 11 out of 15 Paralympic Games, and they just won back-to-back gold medals. So that Rio gold and the Tokyo gold that they just won, and our U.S. women's team won gold in 3 of the last 4 Paralympic Games, and our women just won a bronze in Tokyo, and prior to that in Rio they won a gold. So we feel really good about what USA Wheelchair Basketball is doing, and honestly we see great potential for those who are eligible for Paralympic competition, great potential to continue trying to pull some of the military population through that pipeline as well. Next slide. This is a slightly different visual for everyone to get a sense of what our structure is. So we, as a national office and board of directors, if you look in the middle of the left side of the slide, we have a relationship with the United States Olympic and Paralympic Committee. They are a big funder of the NWBA, particularly for funding the success that we try to achieve in international competition. And with that relationship with them, they pass down a lot of standards for what it means to be a professional organization, how we operate, what we prioritize, and the way that work gets done, both from an ethical and professional perspective. And we also have a relationship, if you look on the bottom portion of that left-hand side, a relationship with the International Wheelchair Basketball Federation. That's the group that puts out the international standards for wheelchair basketball, and we need to make sure when we're putting teams forward for international competition that we're meeting those standards. And a lot of the rules are based off of what the IWBF puts forward. So if you then go from left to right on the slide, you can see what the programming looks like for the NWBA and really the way that we govern that play. So we've got an adult division committee, a military division, and you see a red circle or oval around that because that's new, a part of the pilot program, which we're going to dive more into in a little while. A women's committee, intercollegiate division, and junior division. And then across those, there's different levels of play in some of those groups as well. So that's the way really that we structure the organization. Typically, I put another slide in here that talks about a lot of the other committees that drive the focus areas of the organization. I didn't put that in here. However, what's important to note is that the USOPC and the IWBF, they see the NWBA as the national governing body for wheelchair basketball in the US. So we're the ones who are accountable for driving the sport in the US, even though there are some other sport organizations that do that as well. Next slide, please. So from an NWBA perspective, we wanted to show you in order to understand what it means to be eligible in the NWBA. When I say that, I mean all but the military division. There's going to be some content here in a short while that Hannah's going to go over that's going to talk about eligibility for the pilot. But this is really intended to kind of give people a sense of the process that we go through in order to determine someone's eligibility. And why this is important is there's some people with a military background who will participate in the adult division or the women's division as well as the military division. So we wanted to give you all a sense of the considerations for eligibility. First and foremost, the question we try to answer is whether or not the disability is obvious when sitting in the wheelchair. If the answer to that is yes, then there's no need to submit for it. If the answer is no, then we're going to need additional documentation. If you've been approved by the eligibility committee in the past, no need to resubmit. If you haven't, then you need to submit medical documentation of permanent lower extremity disability. And then you shift over to the right side, and that's where it describes what that medical documentation recommendations might be that go along with a doctor's letter. X-ray, surgical reports, some therapy notes, objective tests that are listed there. And we've also included a couple of important tidbits for people, how to get a hold of our head of classification. Her name is Janie Chaluti, but you can see her email there in red. And for people who want to dive into much more in-depth information, which we didn't want to put 10 slides in here on eligibility, we've listed the website down on the bottom of the page. Next slide, please. So military affiliations, really what's cool about some of these groups, whether it be Warrior Games, Invictus Games, Valor Games, or the National Veterans Games, is that number one, it gives people an opportunity to participate, learn, and benefit from participating in sports like wheelchair basketball. The other thing that's cool about it is there's people on this call right now, whether that be Hannah, Rodney, Lee, I know there's others on the call as well who have participated in those too. And a lot of times what they would do is come to the NWBA, ask for some key individuals who they would consider to participate, whether that's a coach of a branch or someone who's leading, who's the subject matter expert for wheelchair basketball. The downside of some of these affiliations in the past is that the individuals participating in some of these events, they didn't have an opportunity to have year-round participation within the NWBA. So several years ago, I know Junior Rodriguez was putting forward amendments, and he was also, making an appeal from the floor that the NWBA ought to be working on providing more opportunities for people with military background. And in particular, what he was saying at the time is that people with PTSD, anxiety, and other not so visible disabilities should also be allowed to play. So I'm really excited that now, several years later, with the support of some of the people on this call and the support of others who are not on the call, that we finally got the pilot that we're going to dive into in a little while. And the essence of it is we get to give some of these same people an opportunity to participate more often in a game that can be a life changer and very therapeutic in a sense. Next slide, please. So what we're doing with the military division, you can see the NWBA has had, about just under 200 individuals who self-identified as veterans or active duty personnel. And there were some years where we would put together an Operation Rebound camp or clinic. We've been partnering off and on with the Paralyzed Veterans of America to do that. And one of the things we wanted to do today is let you hear some audio of one of the testimonials of someone who's kind of come through some of the battalions and whatnot, and hear a bit about what the sport and competing has meant for him. So Tina, if you don't mind playing that audio.
Yep.
I'm a retired Marine. I retired as a corporal. I was there from 2008 to 2014. 2012 was the day of my accident. I became a double amputee after stepping in an IED in Kajaki, Afghanistan, in the Helmand province. First, my team, the San Diego Wolfpack, we're a non-military team. If it wasn't for them, I mean, we wouldn't be here. I say that because we all got hurt in around 2010, 2012 timeframe. There was a lot of Marines getting injured because of Afghanistan IEDs. We ended up meeting up in San Diego. We didn't know each other before that, but we all decided to do basketball as recreational therapy. So first of all, that's what it is for me. It's therapy. It's my therapy. This is my good place. When people say, where do you want to go to a good place? I come here. That's tied in with my team. We all did the same thing. We all got there. We have a couple, we're the only all-military team in the nation and the NWBA. We did grandfather 2 civilians because they helped create the team and they taught us our basics. We were just a bunch of young Marines that had a bunch of energy and we just knew how to push hard. We didn't know fundamentals, we didn't know anything, but that's what the number one thing for me is. It's just therapy and it brings me back.
Yeah, so if you think about really a lot of the work that was being done in VA hospitals in the mid to late 40s, and then when the NWBA was being formed in 1949, a lot of that was to provide therapeutic opportunities and help bring people back to their happy place, as George said. So we're excited to have the opportunity to collaborate with some of the organizations I mentioned a little while ago, but more importantly, expand our reach to cover people with less visible, less physical in nature impairments, and make sure that we can help bring them back and give them a therapeutic outlet through wheelchair basketball. Gina, do you know if Connie's on?
Yeah.
She is?
Yep, she's here.
Great. Well, the next slide is going to go to Connie Moore, who is the Air Force High Performance Coach and an Invictus team coach of coaches, is I think the way that I'm supposed to say that. So we're really appreciative to have Connie here to talk about the importance of how we can kind of continue to collaborate between what the NWBA is doing here and some of the other opportunities that are out there. So Connie, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you all so much for having me. I think this whole program is beyond amazing. Since I have become a part of the Wounded Warrior family and participated as a coach, I've always looked for other opportunities to find for the athletes to compete in and other things for them to do. Because as we all know, it's a little challenge, it's a gap, right? For when you contend at the Warrior Games or even Invictus Games, which I'm going to talk about a little bit here in a second, to going to the next level is that where. So I'm excited about this. Is a very important and huge step for the athletes in that fall into that category. But Warrior Games, when I first got involved with Warrior Games, it was a blessing in disguise. I had no idea the reach that it would have long term to help service those who serve us has always been an honor and opportunity. But the Warrior Games is a place where warriors from all branches, Army, Navy, Marine Corps, Air Force, and SOCOM services come together with their severely ill and injured warriors and participate in sports across the board. Swimming, cycling, powerlifting, track, field, rowing, archery, shooting, wheelchair basketball, of course, wheelchair rugby, and sitting volleyball. And they all get to compete against each other and come together in this big force of camaraderie. And if that isn't enough, they can also take that to the next level and participate in the Invictus Games. The Invictus Games was found by Prince Harry after coming to a Warrior Games and seeing what the U.S. was doing over here, that he decided to take it to an international level. A lot of people like to think of the Invictus Games as sort of a world championships of Warrior Games, which this year, hopefully with COVID behaving itself, we will have it this year in The Hague. So that's a little bit of the two. But how this bridges the gap is, again, like I mentioned earlier, is that a lot of our warriors, you only get 2 Warrior Games to do before you have to find another path. You only get 2 Invictus Games to do before you have to find something else to do. And this is where the NWA military division is such a huge, huge bridge for that, because it helps fill that gap. It helps find another place for our warriors to participate of all fitness levels and abilities, and gives them another place that's, that's called home. So I'm excited about it, and I believe if you have any interest in learning about basketball, want to do basketball, or any of the above, that you do that to get involved. So I think what you all are doing is absolutely awesome, and I think it's exactly what this community needs to go to the next step. That's all for me.
I had my mute on. I'm sorry, Connie. I was saying thank you for that. We couldn't be more excited to have the opportunity to do some of the things we're doing, but to learn from you and find a way to partner with you in more of an ongoing sense. So even just having you here on the call tonight means a great deal to us. So thank you.
Yeah, please let me know if you all have any questions at all. And I hate to do this right here because I know it's going to show later. But hey, TKC, we'll talk later. But we go way back. We worked together in Paralympic days. So this is awesome to see it go full circle and even to see her do amazing things. So you have an amazing asset in her as well. So know that.
She's not going anywhere. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, so with that, what we'll do is turn it over to Hannah and Lee. As we got a submission as an NWBA leadership team in the late spring / early summer of last year, and it was finally putting some structure around what a military division pilot would look like. And just before they dive in, the reason why you hear us keep saying pilot is we have bylaws that have to be voted on through an amendment for our membership to kind of get a chance to vote on what we're going to do to change the structure of the organization. So we typically do pilots, and these two individuals, as well as some others, put some really good thought into what the pilot would look like and what success outcomes would look like for the pilot. And we're really happy, not just that they, but some other members on the phone and who've been on conference calls off and on have been doing to get us to this point. So thank you both, Hannah and Lee, for the work that you've been doing, and I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you so much. I think we talked about just starting off with introductions. I'll let the Hall of Famer go first. If you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, Lee, and then I'll jump back on. He's been having some technical difficulties lately with his laptop and phone.
Tina, can you unmute Lee?
I tried to unmute Lee.
You want to unmute all? Just ask people to keep the background noise down just so that we could hear. And Coach?
I think your camera unmuted, like Lee, not your phone maybe. If not, I'm sure between all of us, we could give you a lovely introduction.
Well, I'll say one thing about Lee while we work on his microphone. Lee just rolled off the board after serving multiple terms on the board, several probably, and he was getting ready to ride off into the sunset after providing significant value over many years to the board and helping us work through a variety of difficult transitions as an organization. And as soon as that was done, this pilot was coming along. We said, hey, Lee, I know you just retired from the board, but we kind of need you to now come back and be the commissioner of this military division as it's a pilot. And true to his form and his character of giving to the organization, he said yes immediately. So Lee, thank you for that. I see that your microphone's green now.
Yeah, I finally found the button to push. You know, my fingers, they kind of point in every direction, north, south, east, west. But anyhow,
You froze, Lee.
excuse me again.
Hey, Lee, maybe you can turn off your camera and your audio would come across a little bit better.
Pay your internet bill, Lee.
There you go. Let's see if we can hear you now. And it looks like he's having some technical difficulties.
All right, we'll move forward. Once he gets back on, he is like the Hall of Fame masterman, played basketball forever. And about Warrior Games, you guys probably would recognize him because he's been the venue manager for the past several years at Wounded Warrior Games. So he's the one all over the place, yelling at us coaches, telling us where to go and what time to be there, and facilitating all of us on the ground at all the different games. So I don't envy that job sometimes, but that's kind of how we got to know each other But I'm so excited to be able to work with him on this. Oh, did you get it, Lee?
I don't know what's going on.
Oh, we hear you now.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello? Okay. And so, as the commissioner of this division, my job is to
Well, we're
make
not
sure
hearing you.
that the rosters are correct.
Well, Lee, I think we're having some more trouble hearing you on this end. The joys of virtual reality land we're in. But I think we'll go ahead and move forward, and Lee, once it clears up, maybe we can catch back up. So do we want to go ahead to the next slide? By the way, I'm so pumped to see all of you guys on here. I see a lot of SOCOM folks, and Ebo from Hawaii, love that you're on here. And Lucio, this whole thing is about you, sir. Like, this is why I came up, like, why you will be perfect for this. I can't wait to see your team. But like Will said, the reason we kind of decided to create this is because we've kind of been falling through on the military side. And for all those athletes that have participated in Warrior Games and Invictus and all that, and after that's over, there's kind of an empty space to fill, right? Go Army. I see that in the chat. Well, I didn't even talk about myself. I work at Houston Parks and Rec, and I've been coaching for SOCOM for the past 6 years. And just recently, I've made the switch to the Air Force, so I've worked with several of the coaches. But several of the athletes on the outside, too, have asked, well, what can we do? We really love basketball, but we don't qualify for the NWBA yet. So this is going to be the outlet for those folks. It was initially created to support the military, and so we're just trying to keep on going with that to give everybody the most opportunity possible to participate in sports on the outside. We keep saying it's a pilot program. We really want to push that information because this is just a practice try, and so if we don't get people on the wagon and people registered, we might not be able to do it. I know Will spoke about bylaws and all that, which I'm certainly still learning, but if we don't get on the wagon and take advantage of this opportunity that NWBA is giving us, then we might not be able to move forward with it. So we can go ahead to the next slide. And Lee, if you get clear service, you just wave at me or something and I'll tag you in. But so eligibility for the military division. So if you play NWBA now, you're eligible. Or if you are in a Wounded Warrior detachment or battalion, you're eligible. This is the same people that are eligible for Warrior Games and Invictus Games are going to be eligible for this. The very unique part of this and what makes it different from all the other divisions is that it includes TBI, PTSD, depression, all of the things where you don't have ambulatory disabilities. All of our open players, all of our sixes, they will qualify to play in this division as well. Can we go to the next slide? So the classification system we're going to use here is going to be the same one we do for Warrior Games. So the Min, Mod, Max classification system. Women go down one. And so you only have to have one person with a physical disability or one person who's a moderate or a maximum on the floor at a time. So really, if you have a physical disability, then you can just get 4 ambulatory folks who qualify for the minimum disability, and that would be your legal lineup. And I'll show that in the next couple slides. But the minimum would be your ambulatory folks, and the moderate would be pretty much like your amputees, and then your maximum would be your spinal cord injuries. And I'm just totally summarizing. We have a whole document about it, and we can share that. That'll be on the NWBA website, I'm sure, and we can definitely talk about more specifics. But really, the moderate and the maximum folks will be those that are currently playing NWBA or anybody who uses a wheelchair every day. And Lee and I were speaking earlier that the moderate and the maximum will coincide with whatever your NWBA current classification is. One of the big questions that people have been asking us is regarding the wolf pack. Since we watched the video with George there and talked about the wolf pack, we're encouraging the wolf pack to create several teams. So it's not going to be like the wolf pack is just going to come through and just like dominate, because they're so amazing and they've been playing forever. But we're encouraging them to reach out to other people so that we can create multiple teams to include the able-bodied disabilities as well. We can do next slide. Oh, and I had a little, the previous slide for the minimum disability will require some kind of documentation. We'll have a minimal disability documentation that'll have to be signed by your PCM for you to participate. Lineups, like we were just discussing, one person with a mod or a max on the floor at a time. I have some examples there. Other people have asked, do you have to have somebody with an ambulatory on your team? And you do not. You can play with your NWBA folks or people with all physical disabilities. It's not required, but that makes this division unique and different, is that we are opening up to that population, but it's not like you can't have a team otherwise. We'll do D3 rules. Another frequently asked question is dual rostering. So if you play, so the guys, for example, on the Wolfpack can play on the Wolfpack and they can play on a military division team. And then for female, you could play on your military division team, your division, whatever adult division NWBA team, and your women's division team. So if you're a female, you got all the opportunities. So no big deal there. I don't think I added on here. Let's go to the next slide and see if maybe it's on the next slide. But oh, so the residency rules too. You don't have to have. There it is. Okay, I was like, I knew it's in there. So you don't have to live in the same area, right? So my Houston team, I can have players from all over. Lucio, you could be on my team. Epo, you guys could be on our team for right now. That's just a stepping stone while we get started. We're just trying to get everybody excited. I see Johnny Banda's here. He's going to be on our Houston team, but we've collaborated with other individuals around who are really interested and want to play but don't have a team. And Brandon will talk at the end how to register. We're going to do free agents. So when you're registering, you would just register as an individual, and then the tournament director would put together your teams. So it's not a big deal if you don't have a team you're affiliated with right now. We'll take care of that. We just need you to register as an individual so we can track all that information. And that goes with, like, this whole thing is flexible. We're just trying out. Oh, Lee, are you here?
I can hear. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm back.
Hey.
And like Hannah was saying, we want to encourage, example, the Wolfpack to break up and create multiple teams. What we would like to do, though, is make this pilot name go away and then it become a military division. So we're encouraging you all to reach out and create teams across the United States. And I would love to see by this time next year, we possibly got maybe 4 to 5 teams currently, which is awesome. But I would like to see up to 8 by this time next year. And so we can be moving forward. I will be overlooking roster situations and questions and who's where and what, but we all got this. It's new, so we all have to pitch in. We have a great committee. A lot of them are on board right now. We have classifier, Janetta, she's on board, and we have those individuals who will be helping with the classification situations and questions and et cetera. So, and since I do have the mic now, I would just like to thank everyone that's on board and involved currently in helping pushing this, because I feel it's needed more for us than it is for the men and women who's serving, so that we can let them know that we still care about what they've done for us, for our country. Thank you. If you have any questions, my email is available out there on Sports Engine. You can send me some questions or you can call me. I can't give them a number out because I just can't give them a number out. Rodney's on here. I don't want him to have my phone number. But that's my spiel, and thank you all for coming on board today.
Along with that too, we're looking for tournament directors, facility managers, nonprofit organizations, for-profit organizations, any of y'all's organizations that would be interested in hosting a tournament or supporting what we're trying to do here. We're still looking for committee people. We're looking for people to contribute in any way, especially hosting tournaments. So if you guys know folks like that, please send them our way too. And registration is open. I put it in the chat box, David, and Brandon will explain all of that in super detail shortly. But I think that's it for my end.
Oh, hello. Can I say, I have a number of questions. Can you guys hear me by chance?
I think we have a section for questions at the very end. Okay.
Oh, that's all I was asking. I thought you were going to say good night and.
Oh, okay. No. We'll be here. We'll be here till the end. Brandon is going to go over a bunch of registration information, and then we have that for all of your questions and answers. So hang tight.
Thanks, Hannah. Hopefully this next section addresses some of those questions, John. So my name is Brandon McVeigh. I'm the Director of Membership Services and Programs for the NWBA. Next slide. I'm going to walk you through some things in regards to registration. So not on the slide, but a registration for any season typically runs August to the culmination of the season, which is typically a national tournament in the springtime of the following year. So it has been open. You know, in our other divisions, we have a number of teams registered already, but we implore all of you teams that are interested in registering in the military division to do so, and to do so early. There is a process to go through with registration. So by registering early allows you to get through all the administration and necessary actions and paperwork, i.e. the not fun stuff, so then you can go have fun on the court. To kind of start off, team registration dues for the NWBA are $600 per team, regardless of division. There's a couple of different options for making payments for those dues. You can pay in full during the time of registration, or you can pay by check. You'll see my contact information there if you're looking to utilize that payment method. So next slide. So we went over a little bit about the NWBA. We have a variety of individual membership categories, and they're all listed there. The main two that we're going to call attention for all of you that you're likely falling in under are either an adult athlete or a non-athlete. And each of those registrations has a different registration session or registration portal, whatever you want to call it, link you need to complete registration. So there's one for adult athletes. So if you're playing as an athlete, you would come in the military division, you would complete a registration entry for that. Or if you're looking to be a coach, an equipment manager, team classification reviewer, or any of that, you would complete a non-athlete registration. Those separate registrations do have different steps within those registration process. Most notably within our non-athlete registration, there is a required background screening for non-athletes, and that's due to your role you're serving in an authoritative role over team members, serving in a supervisor role or coach role, and that's built directly within the registration process. So not to complicate things, it's really easy. You're going to, just like you're going to sign up for anything or any registration, everything's there. It's kind of a one-stop shop. But the important thing to note is if you're looking to, everyone's going to be incited here and As Hannah mentioned, there's some talk of already teams coming together. Before you come together for your first team meeting, first practice, or planning to go to your first competition, you must be registered and you must be take all the necessary steps to registration to comply with NWBA policies. Most notably, those that are athlete safety policies that are incorporated within the registration process. So next slide. So it was mentioned before, individuals that are looking to compete in the division and you might be not readily accessible to an NWBA team, or maybe one of these teams that are looking to come together for military division. Well, there is an option. You can go ahead and register as a free agent. It's the same process as an individual that would be registering as an adult athlete for a specific team or a non-athlete for a specific team. But what this allows then you to become part of the division, but allows us to kind of have a little bit more flexibility in coupling you up with like-minded individuals that don't have a association with a program or a team, but still allows you to compete within the division. So probably one of the most important links you're going to see on here today is that one right there in the blue, is the individual registration link. On this page, we have step-by-step instructions to how to register. There's actually how-to videos that are quick if you're maybe not that tech savvy, or maybe you're overwhelmed, or this is just intimidating. I can promise you those how-to videos make it pretty easy for you to understand the registration process. In addition to all the other registration links are listed on this page. So this is kind of the one page if you're looking to register and looking to leave this tonight and go register right away. I encourage you to jot this down and we can throw it in the chat as well. And follow up during the Q&A with this as well. So next slide. So it was mentioned earlier as well, the dual rostering is an option for individuals participating within the military division. The nice thing is it doesn't complicate the registration process at all, really. It's just additional clicks. So individuals that would meet the eligibility criteria to play within one of the NWBA's other divisions, maybe the women's division or an adult division 1, 2, or 3, you're also able to complete your registration and select those teams in addition to any military division team you're looking to participate on, including military division free agent. The nice thing is it's not like you have to go back through and do a secondary registration. You can select those additional teams during the registration process. And on the next slide, for those of you that may already state, hey, I'm already a coach for an NWBA team and I want to coach a military division team, or I'm already an adult athlete on a D3 team or a women's division team. Guess what? You don't have to go re-register. There's a really easy way for you to reactivate your membership or your registration or readjust it to include a military division. So once your new team registers in the military division, they'll be populated on the teams that are allowed to be selected within the adult athlete or non-athlete registrations. And what you can do is then on your own, just sign into Sport Engine, which you can sign in. It's basically signing into our website. And you'll then click on your Sports Engine IQ or HQ or your dashboard, which will show all of your history registering with our organization. So those of you that have registered with us for years, maybe on an adult D3 team, you see all of your registrations listed there previously, but you could click on your 21, 22 registration and quickly edit it to also select the military division team that you're looking to participate on, or again, military division free agent team. So next slide. Now talk about events. So any event within the NWBA, we operate very similar to any other sports governing organization, is we sanction all those events. An event can be defined as a game between two NWBA teams or military division teams, to a tournament, to a variety of other things. And so there is a formal process for those being approved, and that's by submitting an event sanction application. What this is basically gives you the 5 W's, the what, when, where, why, who, for the event, along with some other information is collected, and we review it. It's also where, we start to work with the event administrators to understand what the checklist items they need to do when they're running an event on our behalf, in addition to helping them process an insurance. A lot of facilities require a COI to host events in their facilities, which we can provide to individuals sanctioning an event with us. And then an important note is, if you're looking to compete within our organization, is you're attending and participating in sanctioned only events. There are events that are hosted by others and within the wheelchair basketball community, and we definitely love to see the game grow outside of our organization. But for us to recognize the formal competition being played, and for it to be under our umbrella, it has to be sanctioned with us. And if it isn't, then we can't recognize that competition. But once it is, it'll be shown here on the NWBA calendar. And when you click on that link, you can see there's a variety of events going on pretty much every weekend, all over. And so one question might come up, and I believe Hannah's probably had this, and hopefully it's addressing some of the questions. For this year, the pilot program, we currently don't have a national tournament scheduled for the military division. The committee is going to review the ability to host some type of national tournament in 2023, but we're still in the process of reviewing that. So just wanted to make that clear. Next slide. So here's just a page showing some resources available. First one is those of you that are probably familiar with our sport. There's a lot of expenses associated with our sports. Sports wheelchairs are not a cheap sporting equipment, and we understand also there's a lot of travel and travel-related expenses to participate in our sport. So there's a lot of grant and scholarship opportunities out there available. We've made these available on our website. We continue to add them. I know personally, there's things on there that we always encourage members to be mindful of. All of these opportunities have different deadlines throughout the year, so definitely encourage you to go check it out and be mindful of those deadlines. But there's definitely opportunities for programs and individuals to obtain funding to support their ability to participate in our sport. So I encourage all of you guys to take the opportunity to do that. In addition to that, there's also some other opportunities for you to obtain equipment, I know there's equipment exchange programs and other things that maybe on a more regional base that is available. And I encourage you to explore those options if, understanding, equipment could be a barrier for your entrance into the sport, from free agent to whoever is trying to get involved. And we're hoping that some of these resources can help you overcome that barrier. And then there's just, as we mentioned earlier, our partnerships with a couple of these other organizations, Department of Veteran Affairs, we work with them, and there's some great opportunities for sports grants with them, in addition to the PDA having opportunities to participate in programming with them and gain support through them. And then the last resource there, by Challenge Athletes Foundation and the NWBA partnered, in addition with Nike, training zone videos that basically are videos that are resources for you to train individually, which we just wanted to call attention to that because we understand most notably for those potentially free agent participants, you might not be always training with your military division teammates or team. And so this is an opportunity to hopefully hone your skills before you get that first opportunity to attend the event. So I think I covered it all. I think now we're gonna open it up for questions. So I'm gonna pass it back to the team, Hannah, Lee, Will, and everyone, and then also keep myself available for any questions.
Yep. So Tina, thank you, Brandon, for that. It's very, very helpful, detailed information on some important steps in the process. Tina, I know that some questions have been asked and answered already, but I don't know if you've been tracking there and maybe want to call out some questions that have yet to be answered. And then if we get to all of those that have been in the chat, we can get to whatever else people have.
Yeah, I think we've answered all of the questions in the chat, but if there's something that we missed, by all means, you can either post it again in the chat or you can unmute your microphone and ask the question live here.
John, I know you had questions earlier. Do you feel like everything's been answered in the chat?
Yes, if I may, just for a point of clarification, do we have to have at least one athlete with a severe disability on our team? Well, most of us are amputees. We have 17 guys on our roster, and the vast majority are amputees. So we probably all be for, moderate. So
I can take that one. John, you're golden. You're good to go. You just have to have one person with an eligible disability through the NWBA, really. So your amputees would count as part of your lineup, your legal lineup.
Do you have any max?
I'm good.
Okay,
Yeah. The team gave me some questions and they've all been answered. Thank you very much.
Thanks, John, for all your support and getting a team put together. We appreciate it. Other questions?
There's a question in the chat. Is there a way for people to meet and make a team if they're not on Facebook? Anna, do you want to?
Yeah, I was just putting my email in there.
Cool.
Right now, I have people emailing me and I'm just tracking names and locations of people. And then I try to gather people of the similar area and put them together. So I'll put my email in the chat box for those folks that are not on social media. They can also, I believe, go to the NWBA website. I think Brandon put like a contact link in there too. That'll go straight to me or Lee.
Tina, do you want to toggle over to that page for us?
Yep, I was just gonna say that that's a good segue for us, Hannah. You set that up. Thanks. I'm gonna pull up where that information is posted on the website. But while I'm pulling that up, if there's more questions, feel free to add those in the chat or to unmute.
Can you speak, Brandon, to the benefits of sanctioning a tournament or the insurance situation, or like why it's important to go through the registration, the benefits the NWBA provides to the team?
Yeah, I mean, I think NWBA members, there's a variety of different member benefits we offer. There's definitely a value to being a member. First and foremost, you know, we can talk very granular, as Hannah mentioned, our secondary liability insurance that we provide to our teams and individuals. So we understand you're playing a sport, and wheelchair basketball could be defined as a contact sport, so things happen, and our insurance can help if it were to occur an incident during a game and whatnot, then you're you know, operating with coverage. And most notably, also if something were to happen at a sanctioned event, then there's also coverage that would be provided. But stepping back from that, there's a lot of other benefits that we offer. So we have membership discount programs with some of our providers, from a Molten to others. You know, membership opportunities that we either e-blast out to our membership or notifications. So we're always trying to provide opportunity with our partners, with other organizations that either are potential opportunities for you to get a discounted rate on something, to access to a program or initiative or funding. And so it's really one of those things where, you know, becoming a member, you know, we're trying to add value back to your membership. It's not, hey, give us your $20 and we'll see you later. You know, we also have a lot of educational, you know, case in point, this webinar series. I mean, we just hosted another one last night. So we're continually trying to provide opportunities to educate individuals around our game, around our sport, around our organization. And, you know, I think that's an important thing, you know, when there might be other opportunities for you to participate in the game, but, you know, over a calendar year, I think we have a lot of opportunities for touch points with our membership and value back added to their experience in the game of wheelchair basketball.
Thank you.
I'm going to navigate through the website here. I know we have a couple of questions that came in the chat too, and we can address those, but I'm starting here on the homepage just to help navigate through where the tabs are and where to go to find the information for the military division. So here from the homepage, it's just under teams and then divisional information. And then the drop down is military division. And then here is, sorry, it goes a little slow. So here's the page for all the military division information. And obviously you can scroll down and get to contact information, clicking on the envelopes here to email Lee or Hannah, and then classification information here on the bottom.
Tina, do you want to show them where the webinar video will be posted and where we might put some Q&A answers based on what we heard in the chat today? You want to navigate to that?
Yeah, for sure. So all of our webinars are here under our learning tab at the top. And then if you scroll down here to the bottom, there's an NWBA, I hope you can see my mouse here. So it's the NWBA webinar series. And if you click on that, it'll bring up this tab function, and you can tab through all of our different webinars. And this is where we'll post the, this is where we post all of the webinars. And then like here, we've posted the different presentations that go along with each one of those.
Yep. And there's other tools and resources that Brandon was talking about, providing tools and resources and an experience. We won't go through all of them, but getting officials for events. This is, you know, on our event page is where you'll find the sanctioned events for the organization. Eventually, if we get to a point next year of having a national tournament, you'll have to have those games sanctioned in order for them to count for nationals. There's some decisions that will still go into that, but this is where you come and find information on those other teams and on how to sanction an event so that you can get the full experience of eventually being eligible for a national tournament. And that's really what the vision is. We've got some ideas on how to promote this division a little bit this year if we're able to, but next year we're hoping that we can create an even more robust season as we continue to get more teams and more interest. But that's where all of you come in order to help us drive the connectivity and getting people engaged, excited, hopefully forming more teams, connecting them back to Lee and Hannah and other members of the committee so that we can grow this and get the level of numbers so that at the end of a couple of years with this pilot, we can say, hey, look how many teams participated. Look how many individuals participated. We need to move this from a pilot to a full-fledged division moving forward through a bylaw change. And that's ultimately what the vision is. And that's the type of partnership that we are hoping to have with all of you so that we can grow it together and have an impact. Hannah, Lee, any closing thoughts that you all would like to provide? I mean, aside from thanking this wonderful group of people for listening in and all the work they're going to do to help us do exactly what I just described.
I'd just like to say that the opportunity is here now, so let's take advantage of it and let's all work together as one team and make it happen.
Thank you guys so much for logging in tonight. If y'all are on social media, we have a military division Facebook page. If not, we're always available through the NWBA website or email or text, or I'm available through all of the things. So just send me messages and I'll get back to you. Lori, you're the best. Lori's on here from SOCOM. So happy to have you here. I can't wait to grow this program with all of y'all's support. And Rod, excited to have more Army folks too. And NWBA, thank you guys so much for letting us do this. This is awesome. I think we're off to a great start.
Thank you, Tina.
Yeah. Anything for you, Lee?
Oh, Tina, you my favorite. All right, everyone, have a good night.
Thanks, everyone. Take care. Have a good evening.
Yep. Bye. How do you leave?